Hi! Hello, ladies, gents, and Spelunky fiends frothing out the mouth in search for some Spelunky 2 news. Recently, Derek Hugh posted a blog post on March 11th about Spelunky 2 development. It's a tiny bit of news. I struggle whether to bring it to you or not in this format, but I figure why the hell not? Why not do it? I might reach people that have no idea about this tiny development. Derek Hugh went on to say that development is going well on the sequel to Spelunky. Enjoy an update on some new screenshots. Let's check out this screenshot and spurg out over all the tiny details. Honestly, I looked at it and was like, just good looking sprites. Nothing really exciting that we haven't seen before. You know, the nice gobbler over there being a mount, a weird new trap that I think just punches you in the face. Nothing new that I can see on this one. New graphics though for all the bats and stuff. Like everything has been updating in small ways. I would say they're going the same direction, just a little bit more detailed in that cartoony look. Let's start looking through Derek Hugh's words. I have read through it before and made sure that I'm highlighting the paragraphs that actually are sensitive to the information that we care about. First off, he says, we've been working on making the game look even nicer, adding more details to each area and making sure that the ones that were already in there popped out better. Thank you to the fans who gave us their feedback about that after viewing the last trailer. I include myself in that statement. He is directly talking to me right now. I think the direct quote was, "This looks like vomit." I may have been slightly harsh, but you can already see in this screenshot right here, the details are a little bit better. I wouldn't say they are 100% something that I endorse. Like, it looks a little funky still, but definitely an improvement. A very big improvement, especially these tiles in the lava land. I don't know how you actually call it. I think a Volcana, that's right. He mentions it later that it's called a Volcana, this tile set. I guess this little biome. There's a little bit more details there, and of course you see all these fire effects slightly too much. I hope that we're not going to encounter these many freaking little ladybugs in the game. It feels like a little too much in this particular instance. All this lava pouring down. I'm really liking the improvement in the look though. Maybe bring down the bloom slightly. That'll be a bit of an improvement on this particular screenshot. Of course, you know, this is just a screenshot that doesn't really illustrate what the game is going to look like in motion. Anyway, I think we've struck a good balance now where the graphics are crisp and easy to parse, but the details still stand out enough so that you can easily soak them up as you play the game. Effects like lighting and liquids are more vibrant now too, contributing to that feeling of a dynamic living world that has been our goal since day one. I really do like this screenshot. I do say that there's a little too much bloom in there, but it's probably just this particular instance of a billion ladybugs in your face. Content-wise, one of my goals with Spelunky 2 was to make each run feel even more like a personalized adventure. Derek Hugh continues. Of course, players of the original game created a lot of their own stories through their choices during the game, such as Old Paco and Paco being a psychopath and other Paco-related stories, and in my opinion, those are still the most meaningful. We want to keep supporting that kind of creativity by adding more variety to the game. This can come in many forms, new items that, in the Spelunky style, are carefully designed to have a lot of obvious and non-obvious interactions with the rest of the world. But there will also be more characters in the vein of the shopkeeper. The loathsome shopkeeper, who can help or hinder the player in unexpected ways. Fans who have been following Spelunky for a long time may even spot some familiar faces within the vibrant community of new NPCs that will be joining them in Spelunky 2. I believe that the Walrus Lady was a secret endgame Easter egg that happened under certain circumstances when you finish the original game, the pixel art original game from 2008. Here's a gambling booth with a strange Grunk who has evolved, become a civilized person with clothes and a cool look. Wonder if they'll be slightly more intelligent than our previous hard hands, or they'll be as delightfully idiotic as their previous incarnation. Wonder if this is just more scenario, more like background thing, but it pops out so much that it's like, that looks like some kind of barrier or something. But of course, you know, it's all like speculation, as often the screenshots and the promotional materials like to showcase more liquid dynamics. It seems to be like the protagonist of Spelunky 2. We're going to be dealing with liquid nonsense happening all the time. Updated version of the compass. Now it has a third dimension instead of being a 2D drawing of a compass. Amazing. Wonder if this is also background or some kind of thing you can interact with. So many questions. So many questions. This does look like somewhere you can go into the second level that is behind every level that we saw in the trailers. Let's continue reading. One thing we haven't talked enough about is that yet. My goodness, the construction of the sentence. One thing we haven't talked enough about yet is audio. Eirik Sarki, who worked on Spelunky 1, is creating a dynamic multi-layer soundscape that is much more immersive than the first game. Each area not only has its own unique musical theme, but every creature, trap, item, and surface has its own suite of sound effects associated with it. I better get some nice, meaty, liquidy squelching noises as I step over the blood of my enemies. That would be fantastic. Landing on grass in the jungle will sound very different than landing on the conveyor belt in Volcana, for example. It's perhaps a more subtle change, but adds a lot to the distinct feel of each area. This screenshot right here, it does. The only thing that I could possibly point out, other than the weird skull chasing the player, perhaps chasing the player, is how vertical and claustrophobic the jungle looks now. Of course, it's just a screenshot, but it just gives you that impression of it being a lot more maze-like. Perhaps this game tries not to, you know, when you play Spelunky HD, there's very distinct 4 tiers of a level. There'll be 4 tiers from the top to the bottom, and they're very distinct. Perhaps Spelunky 2 tries to mix that up a little bit so they're not so easily recognizable, so there's more vertical dialogue between the tiers, if that's an expression. But other than that, I can't really point out to anything that calls to the mind. I really do like the ambient lighting. It looks really good. The tile set, indeed. I am very, very much liking the extra details. Very, very much approving of the improvement that they have done on the way that it looks. There's so much more that I could talk about. Derek, you gushes. Deathmatch, which was a bit of a sleeper mode in the original game. Case in point, I only tried it after maybe 5 years of playing it. We're trying to expand on the concept and make it stand tall next to adventure mode. Or the ways we're trying the feeling of progressing through the caves into the feeling of building a small community of friends and family. Or even our improvements to the journal and menus, which don't seem as important, but nonetheless contribute a lot to the overall experience. I very much echo this sentiment. Something when you try a brand new game, perhaps a game that lacks polish, the menus are so important to convey that sense of this game is finished. This game has been worked on. We care about every corner being smooth and nice and polished. And when the menus are rough, when they are just blots of color and they are just kind of careless, they really detract from the whole experience. Your brain, you may not notice, but your brain will. But I'll save it for another time. Derek Q concludes with much excitement. Thanks for reading and thanks for your patience. Although we're not quite ready to announce a release date, we're getting closer and closer, finally getting to implement the deepest parts of Spelunky 2 that have been collecting dust in my notepad for years. For me, Eirik, Blitworks, and Lollipop Robot, our amazing QA team, we can't wait for you to join us on the adventure. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've said many times in our daily capers through Spelunky in the commentary, everything I've seen about Spelunky 2 is we're going to give you Spelunky, but more and better. That seems to be 100% the philosophy of Derek. He actually states it right here. Makes you run feel a bit more personalized and adventure. Just give you more variety to be nonsensical in Spelunky. This philosophy definitely seems to be, let's make the same game, put more stuff in and make it all better. Of course, depends on the execution, how well they'll accomplish that or not. But honestly, I'm at this point seeing everything that they put out. Of course, it's all marketing material, so we can't really know. But they've also put the demos in packs and etc. that they really conveyed that very same feeling of this is Spelunky, just more of it and better. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Nothing that I've seen so far just gives me pause or tells me that, oof, they're not looking at the right direction. I think Derek Yu really has in mind a very good vision, and he is in agreement with, I would say, the vast majority of the player base. That is like, just give us more of this game. We love this game. If you give us the same game but more and better, that's all we want. Don't try to reinvent the Spelunky wheel. You crafted a fantastic, beautiful game, and the sequel needs to not take anything away from the original. And I think he's heading that way. So hopefully you enjoyed this tidbit of news. Let me know if you had no idea about this being out. I mean, obviously it's a tiny bit of news, but I'll take whatever I can get. And I'll see you in whatever the hell you encounter me next. Until then, wipe the drool off your lips. It looks really bad on you.